Hi and welcome! If you are working on a number crunching business sim, some arcadey high score chaser, or a relaxing idle game, you are very familiar with one thing: big numbers. And probably the headache of how to format and display them correctly to give players all the needed info at a glance. I'll teach you how to do so. This video has 3 parts. The first is about picking the right fonts and criteria for right. The second is about having a look at how to work with less optimal fonts in a way that will still give great results. Third part is about formatting for readability and string formatting. If up until now you only used toString with empty brackets, you'll enjoy this. And lastly, a tiny bonus about displaying beautiful numbers and paragraphs of text that won't stick out like a sore thumb. The right font for numbers. Please don't try adjusting the spacing between digits by experimenting with the kerning options here. You won't get the results you're looking for, trust me. I highly recommend using so-called monospaced fonts for numbers. A monospace font looks like this compared to a non-monospaced one. These fonts, letters and digits each occupy the same amount of horizontal space. For letters, it reminds me a lot of retro games, and that might not fit every game, but the numbers are useful. I'm using this font as an example. I'll create a new text style for this. I'll go into detail of why and how in the video up right. Text Mesh Pro, Resources, Style Sheets, Add New Style Sheet. You tell your style to use a specific font like this. Awesome about it is that at any later point in your production, you can just go here and change the font to something else, and it will get updated everywhere accordingly. In your text box, pick the newly created style. Your text will update to reflect the change. Your numbers will be displayed like on an invisible grid, which is especially useful if you need to show numbers in some form of table-like layout. Working with non-monospaced fonts. Searching for the right font for a game is surprisingly hard. I have a background in print design, and there, if I need a font, I can just buy any neat-looking font for a relatively cheap price and use them in my product. It is much harder to find a cheap and games including license. So I can absolutely understand using less optimal fonts, especially if there's simply no monospace anywhere to be found that isn't only complementing your main text font, but also affordable. Make a new style like before and call it Forced Monospace. TMP gives a handy tag to force your chosen font to behave like a monospaced font, so we'll add it to the opening and closing text like this. You can either pick the new style for your text box from the drop-down, if there are only numbers in it to be displayed, or wrap your numbers in the style tag like this. This way, the effect will be contained to the parts where it's needed. Formatting correctly. Did you know that you can fill these brackets with how you want your text to be formatted? Because for the longest time, I didn't. You can see all the ways to do so in Microsoft's super useful C# documentation, and I highly recommend having a look, but let's have a look at a few examples here first. Thing to note is that many of these formats use a so-called culture info. That's the part that tells the formatter for which language to format. Microsoft's documentation writes it directly behind the letters, but when doing so in Unity, you'll get an error message. This fixes it. Currency can be correctly displayed with the letter C, followed by the culture info of your currency to be displayed. It picks the correct precision for decimal places by default. E, for all my idle and clicker game devs, is for exponential notation, and again you can change the way it is displayed by the culture info. F is for fixed point. You tell it how many decimal places you need by adding the amount behind the letter. Since countries have different styles of separating decimals, you can further specify the way they are being displayed by adding the culture info, of course. I love this letter. It adds group separators and decimal separators based on the culture info. This makes grasping numbers a lot easier than just displaying the numbers without these separators. If you need it a bit more custom, there are the custom numeric format strings. In these cases, you tell your method exactly how you want your numbers to be displayed. My 2 favorites are the number sign and the set string. This one is a digit placeholder and replaces a number sign with a digit if one is present. If you add a comma, it will group separate your number. If you need a custom name of a unit to follow your number, for example G for gold, you'll achieve it by adding it like this. Because you can quite literally write everything you want, you can of course also add a sprite tag, or an animated sprite. And if you have Text Animator, a Text Animator tag to even further animate your animated sprite. Go nuts, it's fun! The Microsoft docs are amazing and give a lot more infos on everything about this. Absolutely go there and read up on the different formats. You'll find the link in the description. Bonus! In some instances, you might need to display numbers in dialogues or tooltips, for example. Numbers set like this can kinda stick out like a sore thumb in these cases. You might enjoy looking for so-called text figures or old-style numerals for these cases. The ones we usually use for daily stuff are called lining figures, regular numerals, or titling figures. Old style were created for these exact use cases and usually complement the look of a text block much more nicely than using regular numerals inside of them. They are a bit harder to find, since sites like fonts.google.com won't let you search for old style numerals. But if this is a use case you run into, I recommend putting in the time. It's details like these that show a great deal of polish. If you enjoyed the text animations in this video, you might want to check out my tutorial on using the Text Animator. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please like and subscribe. I love getting the feedback. Do you still have questions? Please comment and let me know. Have a great day.